he put in the work. Like, regardless of what the team was doing, what off season looked like, what was happening in his personal life, whatever, he was still working ridiculous hours. And so I want to say it was like he get up at like 3 a.m. every morning, go to the gym, take his girls to school, go back to working out, like just had that discipline that I don't think a lot of people can do.
Who would you say the most confident player that you've seen?
Today I saw a video of Steph Curry performing with Paramore, right? And people are like, he's just gonna go up there? He's just gonna start singing? Why not, right? He's been so successful from so much preparation, and so he knows how to be in the moment. It's the same thing. So he just went up there and he's having the time of his life. He's having the best off season.
Give me a Mount Rushmore of all-time confident athletes.
Yo, what's going on, man? This is the BeBall Jones podcast. I am simply a basketball trainer with a basketball podcast. My goal is to present the game to you from a different angle, educate you with a unique perspective, and also change your mindset along the way. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. And today I am joined by, this is a pretty interesting woman who does some pretty dope things and works with some great people. Welcome in Miss Ashley Baskerville. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I can't complain at all. I really can't. Can you tell the people why you're so dope and the great work that you do and the amazing people that you work with?
Wow. It's like setting high expectations. But I am a mental performance coach or a cognitive performance specialist. So I work to train athletes and pilots in the military on cognitive performance. So how do you get your brain and your body to work together to optimize your potential, essentially?
I think that the fact that you work with both of those elite human beings, I'm pretty sure you're exposed to some things that kind of wow you on a daily. Like, I feel like because you're working with that level of athlete and that level of, like, I don't even know how to categorize them, but, like, they're just different.
Yeah, it's an interesting spectrum. Like, 1 minute you have the most focused, like top 1% in both fields, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then other days you feel like you're at a fraternity house. And everything is just like, you're just looking like, really? Really? Are we laughing about this? But so you never know what you're going to get any given day. That's for sure.
And do you work mainly with guys?
Yes. So with athletes, I do have a few women athletes, girl athletes, which I'm really excited about because I think it's a resource that's not always provided in women's sports. And then especially with the military, it's 95% men, if not a higher percentage. So that is always a really interesting day.
Yeah, I can tell because it's guys. Like, we're men and then we're boys like 5 seconds later. And then we go back to men. It's like
100%. Today I said, I had a sentence. I was talking to some pilots, and anyways, I said doo-doo at some point in the like sentence. And here are these like high-ranking pilots, the top 1%, and they just start hysterically cracking up. And I'm like, are we doing this right now? Like, they're like, sorry, focus. What's happening? Y'all just fell apart. So that is typically how a day goes.
sounds about right because I got a homeboy that we'll be having like a very deep and like intellectual conversation, and it's like if you were just listening, you'd be like, dang, he said something profound. Dang. I know we have like a stupid joke and we're going like a 2-minute run and just like being goofballs
And then switch back.
and then just go right back to like being super serious.
Yeah.
Like, but for real, man, like God was saying this and that, and we just easily back and forth for like the whole time we together. So yeah, that's the totality of men.
Yeah.
Like we'll amaze you with our focus and how big and how deep we can think. And it's like, bro, are you 8 now? Like, come on, man. Like, what are we doing here?
I had one of my athletes say it was just their way of keeping me on my toes. So to make sure I'm paying attention and listening. And I don't mind it. It makes the day go faster. I'd rather be cracking up at work all day than be like super serious.
Hmm. I use that sometimes with some people too. You just gotta throw something out there a little bit, that's a little left field, just to be like, are you really listening to me?
You'll be like, wait a minute. Okay.
But what's like you said you work with the 1%. What's like something that you notice that makes them the 1%?
Just there, one, it's the level of success, but definitely the dedication to it.
Mm,
So to be elite, you have to cut the distractions, and that takes a lot of discipline. So especially a common thread is like, I don't have social media. That's a waste of time. I introduced someone to Twitter the other day for the first time. They're like, I've never been on this app. I take full blame. They then downloaded the app. But but it's the dedication and the consistency. I think it's unique in the sense of a lot of other people are learning to deal with failure. Oftentimes, like they don't accept failure or they don't know how to always process it because it takes a level of perfectionism. It takes a
mm,
level of like being type A. And so those are always fun conversations about what happens when you make a mistake. And they look at you like, I don't make mistakes. No, you do. That's how life works. So
mhm,
let's prepare for that. I think that makes it part of the 1%. And then going back to, like I said, just the level of success that they've accomplished. They're doing things, whether it's my athletes or my military population, that are doing things that people don't do. I have a
mhm,
pitcher who's starting varsity since she's been in eighth grade. Who does
mhm.
that?
Yeah.
Right? And to them, it's just a part of the process. It's just like, well, of course I'm doing this. That's the point.
Mhm.
And so that's always really, really fun to get to work with. They inspire me all the time.
Yeah, I think I'm jealous of the people who aren't on social media because if it wasn't for me like doing stuff in business and I understood that's part of the game,
Right.
I think I would probably not have an account. Like
Honestly.
I don't
Have
care
you
for it at
ever
all.
looked at the like the screen time thing where it tells you how
Hmm.
much time you've been spending on each app?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous when you see like, oh, I thought I did nothing today and that's because I spent 4 hours on Instagram and like what could I've been doing different?
Yep. Even doing things like this, like networking and connecting with other people, I'm like, I'm so mindful of that because I want to make sure I don't want to get distracted. So I'm looking to like, okay, go to the DM and that's it. Don't. I know that's a good. I know you want to see what they
Like
posted,
focus.
but like focus. Like you said, I want to be 1% right here. So let's just
Yep.
focus. Straight to the DM, reply back, whatever it is, and then get off. Don't
Yep.
look at. Don't scroll. Don't go to the explore page. Don't do anything else.
Right. Don't go to
DM
the For You
and go.
page. Don't go to the trending topic. Stay away. You'll be in a
Nothing
rabbit
else.
hole.
Yes, and it works some of the times. I'm not gonna put a number out there, but some of the times.
We're humans.
But no, I think that's I always respect people who have that discipline and focus because I strive to be that. And it's fun when people see me like that because I'm like, bro, that's not me. Like, I'm not there at all. But what is something that you um see that I could learn from or we could learn from them about their discipline and focus?
Prioritizing. So like I was actually having a conversation with somebody about this not too long ago, the difference between needs and wants.
Hmm.
And so often we prioritize our wants over our needs because like we get the instant gratification, right? Like that's what satisfies us right now.
Hmm.
But long term, did that help you in any way get towards your goals? And
Exactly.
so I think for the average person, it's really figuring out what are the most important things. I think of them, I'm going to use like a weird analogy, but I think of them like glass balls and like rubber balls. So like
Okay.
throughout our day, we're juggling all these things. We have all these different priorities going on. Our glass balls are the things that we can't drop. We need to do them or they're going to impact our goals, impact our success. The rubber balls are the things that like we can drop and bounce back from. And like that's going to change from day to day or week to week or depending where you're at in the process. but being able to identify what are those things that I can't drop.
Mm.
I can't bounce back from that. So I think for a lot of people, it's just figuring out what are the most important thing right now. What do I need to focus on right now?
I like that one. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one before.
Glass balls and rubber balls.
I might take that one. I'm gonna give you credit like the first two times. Then after that, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I came up with this on my own. You know,
Hey, you're better than me. I only give people credit the first time. I'm like, after that, it's mine. The example is now mine.
I try to do two because most people do one. So I'd be like,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll take it.
So when it comes to developing priorities, I think it's funny now because we do have a skewed view of what is a need and a want. And it's funny when people, I need this. I'm like, do you really need that or do you just really want that? So how can someone simply separate those two? Because I feel like we've been so diluted and everything's in the gray area now. So how can we separate? Okay, this is black and this is white.
I often ask, like, what would be different in your life if this didn't happen or you didn't get this item?
Mm,
If it's a temporary thing, like I'm going to be upset or I'm going to be sad or I'm going to feel like I'm missing out, but that's something that's not long-term impact, then
mm,
that's a want. If you're like, this will ruin my friendship, I could lose my job, I may be punished in my team and lose my starting position, those are needs. Those are long-term impact. And I think that's a great way to start asking, like, what happens if I don't get this?
mm. But how do you deal with the people who, I don't want to say dramatic because that kind of invalidates their feelings, but I could lose my job over this. It's like, can you really lose your job over this? So how do you deal with those situations?
That's a whole different thing. That's them typically like starting to catastrophize and lose grip on reality. And
I like
so
that word, catastrophize.
I'll catastrophe, like downward spiral, and I'll start to kind of get them to get a grip on reality. Let's break
Hmm.
up this thinking and really like, what's the most likely thing that's going to happen? What's the most realistic thing? And take it step by step. And sometimes it's even, okay, if you do this, then what happens? All
Hmm.
right, that happens, then what happens? And just taking them down realistically till they're like, oh, it's really not that bad.
Hmm.
Because we will create a whole scenario in our heads just to validate what we want.
Yeah.
And it's not helping us.
Yeah, that's something that I tend to do that too. I think sometimes I get to worst case scenario sometimes. Then I have to like be logical about things. And
Mm-hmm.
that helps me like, okay, how likely this happen? Like if this does happen, is it the worst case scenario? Okay, cool. Could you live with that? Oh, you can. Why not do it anyway? So once I start like rationalizing things and trying to figure out how to make it make sense,
Mm-hmm.
that like allows me, it gives me permission to go after it anyway. Because most of the
Yeah.
stuff we think about, even if it is that bad, how likely is it to happen? Like that's kind of what gets me through certain stuff. So
And
I like that.
sometimes you just, with the really stubborn people, just do it. Okay,
Hmm.
do it. Because life will figure the rest of that out. And then we come
Yeah.
back and we have the conversation about, okay, so what are we going to do different next time?
Hmm.
Sometimes you just have to learn the hard way or experience it, or sometimes you do it one time and it doesn't have a consequence, but long-term impact, you got to prioritize.
Yeah. And I think I had a conversation with a friend one time and they saw me as like so fearless and just so confident. And I'm like, bruh, I'm a huge overthinker. So I thought about whatever I was going to do 30 times before I even thought about even actually doing it. So like the a level of overthinking that I do sometimes is
Yeah.
ridiculous. But the confidence came from, like I said, just going through the thought process of doing that stuff. But over time, I became a little bit more bold
Yeah.
because I went through those things before, and it's like, okay, that wasn't that bad. Like, okay, 2 feet wide is not that deep. Maybe
Right.
five isn't that deep either. And I started going more and more and doing more things to where now my confidence appears to be a lot higher, which it is, but to an extent, it's just like I'm willing to take more risk. And I
Yeah.
think that's what kind of built the confidence for me.
One of the things that I tell myself when I'm nervous or I'm like anxious about something all the time is something I learned working with the army, and that's just F it, full send. And so I will tell myself that all the time, like, all right, here we go, full send. You got it. And just once I made the decision, just commit to it fully. And whatever it is,
Hmm.
we'll figure it out as we go.
Mm. Do you think that's what separates the people who are more confident and more bold? They just kind of like, yeah, whatever, just go for it.
I think sometimes, right?
Hmm.
Like to an extent, being confident is a choice. We can take our interpretation of like how we feel, our experiences, potential consequences, and we can choose to interpret them kind of how we want to be more beneficial. And so I think for a lot of people, it's understanding that anxiety is not a bad thing. Like it's okay to
Hmm.
be a little anxious, it's okay to be a little bit nervous, it's okay to have a little bit doubt, and you can still be confident. You can still be successful. I think for a lot of people, it's the experience of like, yeah, I've tried things that I wasn't super confident about. Like you said, like I got in the 2 feet. Okay, well, I survived. So
Hmm.
let's see how much further I can get in trusting that. And then I think a lot of it too comes from preparation. Like we don't always see the hard work that people put in. We only see the highlights.
Yeah.
And so like I'm like thinking about today I saw a video of Steph Curry performing with Paramore, right? And
Hmm.
people are like, he's just gonna go up there, he's just gonna start singing. Why not? Right? He's been so successful from so much preparation and so he knows how to be in the moment. It's the same thing. So he just
Hmm.
went up there and he's having the time of his life. He's having the best off season.
Yeah, he's been everywhere. He was doing a
Crazy.
golf challenge and did something else with golfing and out here singing on stage. I'm like, Steph, do your thing, man. Like you a
Right?
champ now.
Live your
You
best
should,
life.
or another champ. Yeah, like do your thing, man. So I think that that confidence on the court transitioned to off the court because I'm
Yep.
pretty sure growing up he wasn't like out there singing on stage when it came to high school dances or whatever. So at some point in his life, it was like, you know what, F it, go out here and sing on stage. Let me go
Why
record
not?
myself doing this and doing that. But like you said, he had to develop in progress to gain that confidence.
Yeah.
Um, do you think who would you say the most confident player that you've seen? Like if you had like,
Most
okay, this guy's confident or this lady's confidence was like, I haven't seen anybody like this.
probably like Kobe. I used to say Muhammad Ali until
Ooh.
I got to know more about Muhammad Ali. So he used to say some crazy outlandish stuff, right?
Hmm.
I'm so mean I make medicine sick, or like
Yeah.
I turned off the light switch and was in my bed before the room got dark. I'm that fast, right? And all of these things that just show confidence. And then
Hmm.
I realized he said in an interview once that basically he was nervous before these fights. And so he would say that stuff to boost up his confidence and make him believe that he was more confident than he actually was. Which is still incredible. He's one of my favorite athletes.
Hmm.
But I think Kobe Bryant was confident, borderline arrogant sometimes,
Yeah.
but I think he was probably one of the most confident, like fearless. How
Hmm.
many athletes thrive under pressure? Like they're literally like, I want the game to be close, just so I could show you that I want to win. Nobody
Yeah.
wants that. Like, nobody wants that. We don't want the game to be close. But that was what the conditions where he's like, that's when I'm at my best.
Hmm.
Make the game depend on me. And I think that's an unmatched level of confidence.
Yeah. I think to an extent we understood how crazy he was, but the fact that he said, I'm gonna go after that man in Chicago number 23, and he's right there to actually have done it,
Yep.
that alone, like that one thought alone is amazing because you know how many people's career crushed because they got the mantle of being the next Jordan and they didn't live anywhere close to it. But he was like, please give me more of that. I want that.
I think the moment I realized his just confidence and mindset was through the roof. I mean, I had seen it growing up watching it, but it was when with Matt Barnes when he faked the ball in his face and he's just chewing his gum And it wasn't so much the action in the game, it was afterwards. And he basically was like, I wasn't looking at him, I was looking past him. And I'm like, wait, not only did you not flinch when the ball was this close to your face, you weren't even, you're like, I'm already on to the next thing. I already got my next moves in. I'm not worried about that, which is
Yeah.
insane to me.
Yeah, I think that's a top tier basketball moment. But I think like fans kind of take it as as kind of a thing. But you don't like when you think about it sometimes, like you flinch off of someone almost touching you, like just your arm. A
Right.
ball being inches away from your face is a whole other thing. And his reaction was like, I won't even fade. Like, what basketball? I ain't even process that. My brain's in some whole other galaxy that y'all just not even there yet.
Right.
He said that I was like, okay, Kobe. All right.
Just, let me just sit down with that one for a second.
Like, bro, you over here playing like the time chess game and they got like multiple boards going. That's Kobe's brain. That was Kobe's brain. Like he was just like, all right, I'm playing time chess against like four different people, and it's the staggered win. I'm like, all right, bro,
Yeah.
you won. Like, but that's crazy. But what were the things that you feel like built up his confidence? Like this is like the progression that he took to build his confidence because he wasn't always like that. So what do you think happened
No.
for him to
Right.
build up that point?
I think it goes back to preparation. He
Hmm.
put in the work. Like regardless of what the team was doing, what off season looked like, what was happening in his personal life, whatever, he was still working ridiculous hours. And so I want to say it was like he get up at like 3 a.m. every morning, go to the gym, take his girls to school, go back to working out, like just had that discipline that I don't think a lot of people can do. And I don't know if you I'm sure you watched it. The Dream Team video,
Hmm.
Redeem Team. And they were talking about how they were all going out and Kobe
Yeah.
was already in the gym before they even got back from the club. And he's like, yeah, I'll go out with you, but you guys got to start coming out, like working out with me. And the next thing you knew, they all stopped partying and they were in the gym every morning because they were like, wait, we got to be putting in the work. And I think that leads to a huge amount of confidence. I think also for him, he had failed time and time again, right? I think where we really saw his mindset transition was when he was going through the whole trial situation. Everybody kind of turned their backs on him. He lost out on the MVP that he really should have won.
Hmm.
And he went into like his villain mode. And after that, it was a scary sight in my opinion. Like, oh, y'all want to make me the villain? Okay, then I'll be the villain.
Yeah.
And it gave him something, it gave him the motivation to keep pushing despite
Hmm.
breaking however many fingers and every other bone in his body. I remember being little and they had him as essentially like I grew up in Sacramento, so Kings fans, but it was going into the playoffs and they had a cutout of him that was like an operation board of like every single injury he had had. And then I laughed because he turned around and won a ring. So, like,
Yeah.
all right, whatever.
Hmm. Yeah. I think it was the Kobe Muse documentary he had,
Hmm.
and he was like he talked about the situation that happened in the court trials and everything.
Yep.
He was like he had so much anger and like the rage that he felt. He was just like, okay, I can't take it out on y'all, but I'm just going to funnel everything I can into the game. And I think that's around the time the Black Mamba formed and the whole brand that he built around it, the Mamba mentality, all that stuff came from there.
Yeah.
But
Being able to compartmentalize and control your emotions is where the majority of people fail.
yeah, and I think that he had that skill masterfully done because with everything going on, like he's dealing with the whole Shaq issue. It's like, bro,
Yeah.
I'm not little homie no more, bro. You're not finna sun me. I can win without Shaq. Dealing with that, he's still chasing that guy in Chicago still because he only had three, so he still got to deal with that. Then the whole thing with Denver and the court situation happened. Then he got snubbed out for MVP. Then his team ain't playing. All right, bro.
Then they were trying to
All
trade
this
him.
stuff.
They were
He
trying
was
to
dealing with
trade
the
him too.
trade. He wanted. I think at
Oh
one
yeah,
point he
he
wanted to
wanted the
get
trade.
traded.
He asked it.
Yeah,
He asked for the trade.
he was frustrated with that. All of that. Like, all right, bro. Hey, none of it's going right. Okay, cool. Men's basketball. All I got at this point. Let's get busy. And he just went and took out. everybody. Anything moving that didn't have Lakers jersey on, even Lakers jersey, like, bro, I ain't passing you the ball. I'm putting up 50 tonight, so it is what it is.
When you said that, I still think about when they were like, they told me I was shooting too much. I told them catch or pass me the ball. He said catch the rebound.
Yeah.
He really did shut out everybody, and then
Yeah.
won two in a row.
Almost won three.
Yeah, almost won three.
I'm a Celtics fan, so I'm not mad about the first one he missed out on. So it's
I'm
all
sorry,
good.
we don't all make great decisions in life.
I mean, that's why I made a good one, so it's all good.
Yeah, I'll give you that
My
one.
story is a little weird. So I started off a Kobe guy,
Uh
because
huh.
around the time I got into basketball, Kobe was the guy. He was the three-peat Shaq era. So I'm like, okay, cool. He's the guy. I'm cool. But then I got a little bit older, started hooping myself for real. For real. I was like, okay, I don't play anything like Kobe. Oh,
Most
but this guy named Dwayne Wade, I like him. I'm kind of similar to his style, so I picked up him. So he's kind of my favorite player for a while. But I still had love for Kobe, but
right,
I'm diehard who I'm with. So I'm
right.
D
I
Wade
get
guy.
you.
So then
Yeah. Then I'm
I
like,
was
then
like,
how'd you get to the Celtics?
yeah. So then it was like, okay, I gotta have a team. I don't like the Heat because they was trash around that time. This is like '08, '07, '08. I was like after Shaq and them left. So
Right.
after he got the ring. So around '08, I was like, okay, I gotta have a team. Then right, literally when I was thinking that, oh, Paul Pierce is getting KG and Rondo. I guess I'll stick with these guys. They seem like they could be pretty good, and they won the ring that year. So
Uh huh.
interesting little journey I was on.
And the Lakers should have got Chris Paul, and they blackballed it, and then gave the Celtics. Let it. I just sometimes think about that. Like, what would have happened if that trade actually happened? We'd be in a whole different world of basketball now.
I think that's one of the biggest one is from our era generation because that was just a weird one. Like,
And then they let everybody else do it afterwards, which was so crazy.
yeah,
Gotta let it go eventually.
y'all won't. It's okay.
No, we won't. I'm also a Raider fan. I haven't let go of the Tuck rule, so maybe I just hold on
Mm.
to things.
I mean, something that deep though, it's kind of different to just like let it go. It'll be different if it's like a foul or something. You can let that go, but an entire trade like that, like, come on, man. Like, mm.
Chris Paul may have had a ring by now,
I
right?
shouldn't say
Like
that.
that's what I'm saying. Like basketball is a whole different world. I don't know. It is what it
Because I'm a
is.
big CP guy, so that hurts to just hit.
Like,
All
right?
right.
Change the game.
I think we both got in the feelings enough, so let's flip track. Let's go back to Kobe's confidence. All right. So if you had a player right now, they're in the let's pick seventh grade. Okay, so they're
Okay.
just starting out with basketball. Okay, and you had this player, and they're like, "Yo, I'm a huge Kobe fan." Or let's go down to Tarasi if it's on the lady side, because that's
Okay.
the other Mamba.
Right. Right.
How would you give them a blueprint to say, okay, these are things you need to do to have Kobe's level of confidence?
Put in the work. So
Mhm.
like get your shots up, do the practice, listen to the coach. He didn't always listen to the coach, but listen to your coach, right? Follow directions and then trust yourself more than anything else. So like
Mhm.
something with players like Diana Taurasi, like Kobe Bryant, like Steph Curry, is they don't stop shooting.
Mhm.
So maybe they change their method of getting to the basket. Maybe they're not putting up as many threes and they're driving to the hole, but they're not stopping. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people start to get into their heads and like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this. And this starts to compound on each other and spiral. And so then, hey, I missed a few shots in this game. It starts transitioning throughout the rest of the season because that one moment you let impact your confidence instead of saying, all right, this shot's not working. Let me try another one. This one's not working. Let me try something else. Okay, my shot didn't fall at all tonight. Then I'm going to go to the gym and fix it instead of wait until practice when coach is like, hey, we're going to take shots at the end.
Yeah.
So taking that like initiative and that hard work, but then keep shooting, keep putting up shots. And that's, I think, harder for people to deal with than they think, especially if they've been seeing failure or miss shot, miss shot, miss shot. That starts to have a huge impact on confidence. But the only way to get over that is to keep doing it.
So
Change
how
your
do you
method maybe, but keep going.
yeah. How do you deal with the level of irrational confidence though? Because there are some people who have the Steph Curry, Kobe level of irrational confidence, which you do need. Like that's why they're great because they believe I can put up 50 with four hands in my face. Like Kobe was an alien when it came to his mindset, but you don't have Kobe's skill and talent. So
Okay.
how do we measure those two out to be like, okay, you believe you can do this, which is great, but let's like be a little bit more logical about your actual game.
I think that's where you start to decide where you make an impact, right? So that may be not always something that happens in the moment in the game. That may be like I need to pull you out and give you a minute to think for a second kind of situation or a halftime situation. But look at where can I impact the game? So my shot's not falling.
Hmm.
Instead of giving up, let me start passing and getting some assists, right? And then going back to, like I said, putting in the work. So my shot's not falling in this game. I transitioned, I changed my method, I helped the team. Now I'm going to go and put in practice and put in work till my shot starts to fall. And
Hmm.
so I think being able to understand that being an impact player doesn't only look like shooting like Steph Curry. Um, I think that is one of the, I won't say a downfall, but like the hard impact of him in basketball is like everybody wants to take these crazy NBA threes all the time, but maybe you're the team rebounder. So like figure out what your actual strengths are and lean into those.
Yo, like, what are you doing right now? Like, for real? I I know what the problem is. You didn't got too comfortable. Things done got cute because you think what you did last week was cool. You think you can kind of relax, take a vacation this week. You think because how many points you jumped your career high, you dropped to the 30 piece last week. You thinking this week is just it's vacation time. It's time to relax and chill. It's not it, man. This new level means you have new challenges. So the work's not done yet. You're not able to just relax and just take a break. Because you have to outwork and outdo what you did yesterday. You have to work harder than you did before because the new level requires new things from you. So just as a reminder that when you get the next workout in, just keep as a reminder that progress is the only goal.
I think the only issue with that is sometimes you'll have people in their ear like you should go out and get your shots, which I understand. I'm a fan of that too, but I like to say it like this: your superpower isn't that thing. Can you do it? Sure, like by all means, get a shot off when you have it. But you don't see Aquaman trying to be the fastest in Justice League. Is he fast? Yeah, like cool. When you're in the water, you're the fastest. So play to your strengths of what you can do because you're helping us out because nobody else can thrive underwater like you can.
Right.
So that's what makes you amazing. Like you're cool on land, but you're amazing in water. And I think sometimes players deal with that. I won't say identity challenge, but dealing with like
Yeah.
this is what makes me great, and I can still do these things, but like this is what makes me great.
Right. I was listening to an interview with Rodman and she was talking about the soccer player and she was talking about her dad. And they had asked her how did her dad's abilities impact her playing soccer? And she really talked about like my dad wasn't a scorer. He was a rebounder. He was a defender. He was aggressive. That was his zone and he committed 100% to that zone and that's what made him great. And so
Hmm.
then she transitioned that into like, I'm not always going to be the scorer, but where it's working, I got to commit myself 100%. I think we get a lot of white noise, whether it be from usually from parents, but friends, teammates, sometimes coaches that aren't listening or picking up, right? Like if the shot is open and your coach trusts you, then take the shot.
Hmm.
But sometimes it's you being able to say like this is the type of player I need to be successful and like what my role is in the team and I think coming from my field that's a huge place where I come in and I work with teams with that kind of stuff sitting
Hmm.
players down and being like okay what are your roles, what are your strengths, what are your blind spots maybe, and having that conversation and helping to develop here's where you fit because if we all are trying to be Steph Curry, that's probably not going to work for us.
Yeah.
So, what does that look like? What's your goal? Do you just want to put up 50 points a game or do you want to win a game? Those could be different.
Mm. So how can you deal with a player who they put in the work like Kobe, they put in the shots up like Steph, but they're still struggling to really see their game change and now they're losing their confidence.
That's where you start to change your strategy. There is not one exact method to success. And I think
Mm,
sometimes we get so locked into it has to be XYZ and that's how I get there. But for you, it may be ABC. And so being able to not necessarily give up on what your goal is, but being able to flex and change and shift and look at it differently. So maybe is my shot off? Maybe I need to get a shooting coach. Maybe if I can't afford that, I'm watching YouTube videos and trying different methods. Maybe I need to change the way that I'm conditioning and training. Okay. So not giving up the goal itself, but being able to change the method. And when it comes to the confidence, it's I one activity I have every athlete that I work with do is called their top 10, like their highlight reel. And
mm,
so we sit down and we talk pretty in depth about their top 10 highlight moments in their career so far. And maybe it's like, I got a steal in this one game, or I out rebounded the big guy this one time. Okay. Sometimes it's like, I threw a no hitter a game. That's great, right? Like, that's hard. But whatever those top 10 moments are for you, really sitting in and visualizing them, and then remembering if I can do it once, I can do it again. And that starts to, for a lot of them, starts to rebuild their confidence. I have a lot of athletes that once we do that top 10 list, they will read it before every single game.
mm.
Because if I did it once, I can do it again. I pitched a no hitter, I can do that again. And so that helps them go into the game with the mindset of like, I know what I'm like capable of, and I can continue to replicate that versus like, oh, okay, it's not working. I just can't do it. No, I can because I know that I've done it before.
Yeah, I forgot who it was. It might have been Clay. I think it was Clay or Steph, but they had a spot in the playoffs, I think, where they was kind of struggling to get their shots off and stuff. They weren't playing like themselves. They went and talked to the old either high school or college coach, and they just sent them some tape when they were going crazy. They just like a highlight tape when they was doing their thing. And they was like, "Bro, remember like you can do this. Like don't ever lose sight of who you can be and who you are." And they
Yeah,
got them right out of their funk, and they were able to like get back to themselves. So I think that's similar to what you're talking about, right?
exactly. Exactly. Seeing yourself do it or remembering
Mm.
that you can do it.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you feel like is the biggest, like the opposite of confidence?
Doubt,
Hmm.
self doubt.
Okay. So how can we look at that and reverse engineer how to get away from self doubt?
Mm, I don't think we can completely rid ourselves of doubt. We just change the way that we approach it. We come in, I know I talk a lot about being prepared, but we come in mentally prepared. So, hey, I'm nervous that I'm going to miss a free throw cuz my free throws haven't been doing what I need. I'm nervous I'm going to miss one. So instead of focusing on like I'm going to miss a free throw, I'm going to miss a free throw, I call it like win then statements. Okay, so when I miss a free throw, this is how I respond. I
Mm.
know when it leaves my hand, it's probably off. So I go get the rebound instead of just
Mm.
standing there in shock, right? And so having that almost, it's essentially a game plan, having a game plan for when things do go wrong, because things will go wrong. No one makes 100% of their shots. No one, like, that's just the reality of it. And so
Mm.
having that set expectation instead of like, how do I want to say this? Optimism, like being optimistic about your performance, is also being grounded in reality and recognizing that like nothing, not everything's going to be perfect. So
Mm.
knowing where you have control and having a plan for when things aren't going to be successful, I think is the biggest way to overcome that doubt. I also teach something called power statements. And they're essentially like, what am I going to tell myself? What am I going to say to myself to help me be the most confident and motivated for this performance? And it can
Mm.
literally be anything. It can be like song lyrics, it could be Bible verses, it could be quotes from movies. Um, but whatever is going to make you confident. So, like I told you, I use the one like F it, full send. I say that all the time. When I'm working out and I like say beast mode because it reminds me like, you got this, you could do this, beast mode. When I'm teaching a class, I often use like all eyes on me. which is very much like Britney Spears lyrics, like all eyes on me at the center of a ring, just like a circus. Because I remember that, like, I
Tupac.
am the ringmaster. I control the tempo of this room. So whatever happens, I get to pace. So everything is in my hands. And that just reminds me, like, you got it. Like, go do this thing. You're in charge. You're in control. It's your room. And so whatever you need to tell yourself to fight through that doubt, to keep pushing through that doubt, and then having a plan when mistakes happen is the best way to be confident going into anything, really.
Hmm. I disagree with the Britney Spears. Tupac was the first thing that came to mind.
And
So,
that's why I clarified Britney Spears, because most people immediately go, "Oh, Tupac." And I'm like, I mean, yes, that could work.
yeah,
And also it's the full sentence, but I just am not going to say that every time I go up to teach. Like, it's a mouthful.
understandable. Understandable. It's a little too much. Um, I almost forgot my question. Yeah. So what? How do you? Dang, what was it? Oh yeah, yeah. So, do you believe in like the fake it till you make it type stuff? Because some people are like, you listen to certain gurus or whoever on social media, like, just fake it till you make it. It's all right. Just act like you're there already, and you'll be there. And it's like, who do you fall in line with that?
Yes and no. So I am a huge, huge person that pushes things like utilizing imagery for athletes, for
Mhm.
military, for anybody, especially when it comes to boosting our confidence, because our brains can't tell the difference from when we're mentally practicing something and actually doing it.
Mhm.
So if you can visualize yourself being in that position and overcoming it, all that does is solidify it to your memory and basically tells your brain, you already have this experience. You already did this, even if you physically haven't done it. So when in that sense, like fake it till you make it, yes. Um, but again, that leads on preparation. Just doing anything without any kind of preparation and being like, no, I got it. I'm a boss. Sure, try it. That's not always going to work for you. Which is also the complicated part about having people like life coaches. Because sounds good, or as they say in the military, briefs well, and not exactly how that works. But I think if you're spending the time like imagining it and sitting in that and boosting your confidence that way, 100% do it. But again, that comes down to preparation.
Would you say that's the biggest? I don't say phony, but like the biggest myth, I guess you could say, around like confidence or like the whole mental game.
Like fake it till you make it?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think it works for some people, right? Like across the
Hmm.
board, I don't think it works for everybody. I think if you go in with the mindset of like, I belong here, I'm here for a reason, and you can be able to like back that up with evidence, that's that's great. Like that is super helpful when it comes to confidence. I think the biggest myth would be something it probably like really the biggest myth is probably like butterflies are a bad thing, or like feeling nervous means you're
Hmm.
not prepared. I think those are more of the biggest myths where I'm like, absolutely not. Don't think that. Don't think that. Um,
Hmm.
but for fake it till you make it, if it works for you, it works for you. I just would put something with a little bit more like specific research behind it.
Mm. Because I remember when I was younger, I used to try to do that, and I was like, "It ain't working, man. Am I doing something wrong?" Like I,
You're like,
I was
I'm
like, "Yeah, this ain't
trying. So they don't have the
just,
actual preparation and evidence behind it. So it's like playing dress up.
yeah." Now that I'm older and they're like a little more knowledgeable, got a little more science and understanding behind it.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, it's just a remix of visualization. Got you.
exactly.
Now we're on the same page here. So, because man, that figure till you make it, boy, I tried it. I wished I was Kobe. I wished I was D Wade, Nash, CP, all them guys. Man, I tell you, I could not. That Kobe fadeaway was not for me, man.
It wasn't like in like Mike when he just had to be like, make me like Mike, and then all of a sudden was Duncan.
Like Mike is the biggest scam artist commercial ever because you're not like Mike at all. So
No,
just,
not even
mm-mm.
close. But it sold the shoes.
I'm not mad at it. You feel me? I'm a businessman too, so I respect the game, Spike. I got you. So help me out, man. Give me a deal and give me some promotion ideas, man, so I can make some $1 billion like him.
Make some
That'd be
money.
nice. Yeah. Um, you said something about acting like you belong. Um, imposter syndrome. I don't know how recent that became like a thing. I don't think that was there in like the 1980s and back. I think that was kind of around, but the term wasn't here.
Yeah.
It's more like the past 10 years, maybe, probably less than that. Um, is that a real thing? And
Yes.
okay, so it is. So how can we maneuver around that? Because I think I deal with that to an extent too. Like
Yeah.
certain opportunities I could have, and my brain, I turn it down before I even get the opportunity to like be presented with it.
Right. Or even being in positions and you're like, all of this success is happening. I'm doing all these things and not even believing that you deserve it can be a part of
Hmm.
imposter syndrome. Or feeling like you need to constantly go harder because you're not doing enough and everyone's like, man, I'm so proud of you. And you're like, it's not enough. So it is a very, been there, haven't you? Um,
Oh man, I didn't tell you this. I didn't tell you this before this happened. So yeah, that's crazy.
but it's true, right? And so when it comes to imposter syndrome, it goes back to like that evidence piece. I'm here because. And I mean, I've struggled with that before where I'm like doing all these great things and in these great meetings and meeting all these cool people. And I'm just like, I'm just here by luck. Like, I'm
Hmm.
just here because circumstance. And I had a friend, he goes, no, you're here because you work really hard and you put in the work. And just started like asking all these questions. And I just immediately had responses. And he goes, so that was just fate? Like it was just an accident that you ended up here? Or how did you learn that? And I'm like, well, I studied and I researched. And so it goes back to like partially writing that, like the top 10 that I talked about, but remembering
Hmm.
how you got there. Remembering that like nothing happens um just by chance, I don't believe. Like we get to the positions that we're in because we put in the work. And maybe sometimes it's faster or like even bigger than we could have even imagined, but that
Hmm.
doesn't mean we don't deserve it. It
Hmm.
just means it was the right timing. And so I think for a lot of people, just remembering like, one, you are enough where you are, right? And then two, accepting that you're successful. I think it's so hard. If I like complimented you, how hard it is for people to just say thank you.
Hmm.
We start to justify it, right? We're like, oh, thanks. I was just, I just kind of showed up or it was no big deal. Like, no, no, just accept the compliment. Just take
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
sit in it. Another big thing I always tell people is celebrate successes. Part of the reason we don't feel like we deserve to be in the spaces we're in is because we've made all this progress and success, but we've never stopped to sit in that moment and like embrace it and enjoy it. We just are like,
Hmm.
check, move on, next thing.
Yep.
And you're like, wait, wait, wait. So then when you look back, it's like, man, I just got here overnight. No, you had all of this progress, but you didn't take the
Hmm.
time to sit in it for a second.
Hmm.
Something I did this year was like, I called them my champagne goals. So, like, things that I knew I was going to accomplish this year, there was nothing that was going to stop me from getting them done.
Hmm.
And every time I hit one, pop a bottle of champagne.
Hmm.
I'm going to celebrate it. It's not something big. It's not like I'm going on a trip. It's not super expensive, but it's letting me sit in that moment in like luxury and be like, you did that. Pat yourself on the back. Cheers to
Hmm.
you.
I struggle with that a
It's
lot.
hard. It's hard. It's taken me a really, really long time. And I'm the one
Yeah.
with the degree in it. So it's a process.
Hmm.
You got to retrain your brain.
What do you think that comes from though? Like it's funny because I know part of it for us is ingrained in us to an extent because oh, you looking good. Oh, I'm trying to be like you, man. I ain't doing nothing like
Right.
we always do that, and it's kind of ingrained in us. It's played off as being humble, being showing humility, but it's like no, like you don't have to boomerang it like that. Like you don't have to
Right.
downplay yourself to boost them up. But like, where do you think that comes from though?
Definitely that, like the idea of what like humility looks like.
Hmm.
So I'm not. if I accept this compliment, then I'm like bragging or boasting, and I don't want to do that. The idea of how bad like pride is, but like it's all in the way you display it and act upon it, like take pride in what you do, right?
Hmm.
I think it's also because of social media. We are constantly, intentionally or subconsciously, comparing ourselves to everyone else in the world. So I have this success, but this person has more followers and this success. Or I'm doing this, but this person's doing that. And so we always are constantly thinking like, it's not enough. I'm not where other people are, so therefore I haven't accomplished anything.
Hmm.
Um, I think part of it comes from just like grind culture. I know for a while it was all over Twitter and all over Instagram was like the quote like nobody cares, work harder.
Hmm.
And so like once that starts to get ingrained into people's minds, that's what they start thinking. Like nobody
Yeah.
cares that I was successful here. I got to work harder. No one cares that I
Hmm.
achieved this goal. Work harder. And that's not necessarily what everybody needs to do. Like if that's your goal and
Yeah.
that's what you were working towards, sit in that for a while before you pick another goal.
Hmm.
Embrace it, recover, like and then move on to the next thing. So I think a lot of it has to do with like grind culture and social media and that pressure to keep doing more and do bigger and go viral.
Hmm. I think the grind culture in basketball is stupid. Um, on one hand, I get it because once again, I'm a Kobe guy, so I get it. I promise you, I'm right here with you. But I am a victim of that mindset too. And don't get me wrong, I do respect and a big fan of hard work. I'm not ever saying you shouldn't work hard because, like you said, that quote "nobody cares work hard" is very true. That's not invalid at all. But that shouldn't be 100% across the board every time thing. Like, bro, you just changed your family by becoming a millionaire. Somebody cares. You just you're the first person to graduate college. Somebody cares. Like
Right.
so many milestones that we hit that we just kind of overlook and kind of ignore because in the back of my mind nobody cares work harder.
Right.
I think we have to add more. The thing issue with my thing with a lot of these quotes and stuff, there's no context around it,
Yeah.
and it just kind of gets thrown out there, and it's like it's black and white. Like, no, pause, time out, time out, time out.
Right.
Let's after a while, okay, you graduated college, celebrate that for a time period. Okay, cut off. Now nobody cares. What's
Right.
next?
Now move on. You can't still be like, but I graduated college 5 years later and you don't
Yeah,
have a job. That doesn't work. Move on.
yeah.
You said something I was going to say, but it'll come back to
Mm.
me.
That's how I feel doing this
Oh,
interview
you
because
were
I say,
talking
okay,
about like the grind culture and people just constantly working. But I
yeah,
think there's that comes down to sometimes so like the difference between am I making progress or am I just busy? Am I just
mm,
feeling my schedule to look like I'm doing something because that's what I'm supposed to be doing?
hmm,
Or am I actually being deliberate and intentional with what I'm doing? And
yeah,
you know, welcome to social media life.
yeah. That's a big reason why I'm working to be more intentional about being on there
Yeah.
and being off of there at the same time. And so that's kind of why I'm not as consistent with the content because one, I just don't like doing it. But it's also not supposed to
Hey, no,
laugh.
it's fair. It's
Yeah,
fair.
but it's also just like you post and you don't get the feedback or response that you want. It hurts. I don't care what nobody says. It
It
hurts. It
hurts.
doesn't feel good to post. Oh, this fire. Oh, this. Hey, they gonna love this one. Did they see it? Instagram broke, right? Hold on, man.
Oh,
Instagram still working?
yeah.
Then you go to Twitter and check and be like, oh, Instagram not down. Oh snap. Hold on.
Right.
Oh, that would
Everybody
just
else
suck.
got views were mine. I thought, right? Like I thought that one was a hit. Okay. Glad you saw it. And it doesn't help that the algorithm is constantly changing.
Hmm.
So it makes it hard. I tried for a little while, like with TikTok, and it's like, man, or I can just work. Like, I could just, I could just actually meet with people and sit down and talk. This is a lot for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about that a lot. I probably give it more energy than I should, but I toggle between, all right, can I just delete all my social media and still build what I want to build? Most of it, yeah.
Some of it, okay.
Most of it, I really could. But to reach the heights financially and everything I want to reach and the impact I want to have, all right, Zuckerberg, let's figure this out, bro. Cause
Yes, you can share my data because that's what's happening. Uh, and I mean, I get it. Like, I don't think social media is all the way bad. I just think if we don't have the right mindset when we look at it, it
mhm,
can be really detrimental, right?
yeah,
Talking about imposter syndrome, all you ever see are people's highlights. You don't ever see the struggles and the successes and the setbacks. And so if you're constantly comparing your journey to that, you're never going to be confident. You're never going to feel like you've got it because my
hmm
my road doesn't look like that. And so I think we just need to all be a little bit more intentional with it. I go to TikTok every time I need a laugh. I don't think there are things wrong. Social media or Twitter with this Montgomery brawl kept me cracking for hours yesterday. So
don't bring that up, man. My state
I'm
looking
sorry. I'm
bad,
sorry.
man.
I'm sorry. Social media has its moments. There's songs and playlists now. Uh,
Oh
so
man,
it's just being intentional with it and being deliberate and not letting. The way I look at it is I always say, like, social media is not that serious. It's not real life. And just
yeah,
remembering that.
Yo, just relax a little bit, okay? I know you feeling anxious right now. You're feeling a little depressed or a little overwhelmed because that goal you're going after feels so big and it's so overwhelming and so daunting that it's just like there's no way I can get there. That's probably the reason you haven't started, and that's probably the reason why you're feeling inconsistent about it. But I'm gonna help you out here. Okay, if you haven't started, then just start. I don't care what your excuses are. Figure out a way to just start and just do it. Next is just to keep making progress. Add one more thing every day to get better at it. Get 1% better. But while you're on this journey of self improvement and getting better, get you a shirt as a reminder that progress is the only goal.
yeah. I think it's kind of weird to say that because I'm still old or young enough, whatever, to where social media wasn't a thing, and I didn't have a cell phone coming out the womb, and
Yeah.
like I had the little Nextel block phone for my mom. Like I take her phone and I dated myself with that one real time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's crazy. I'm pretty sure most people don't even know what I'm talking about, but it's all good.
They're going to Google it and be like, what is he talking about?
It's but the five people that know besides you and me that know we're talking about, I'm talking to y'all right now. All right, so y'all pause this for a second, Google it, and then come back. All right,
Right.
but yeah, but that was my mom's phone, and I'd be like bothering her, like, "Hey, can I play Snake on your phone?" And she just give me the phone, and I just play Snake sometimes.
Right.
But I had a life without the internet and social media. Like I was a kid and played outside, but as time changed, I evolved and got into Facebook, and I know about MySpace. I didn't have a page, but
Oh,
I
see,
was in
MySpace,
MySpace.
your top eight was the most stressful part of my childhood.
I heard, that was bad for y'all.
You think it's bad now. It was the most passive aggressive thing that could happen when someone moved you up out of their top eight.
Mm. I had her up the music with the page too. I was like, oof,
I
y'all a
do wish
whole.
that we would have kept MySpace a little bit longer because really we were all learning how to code. I could change my
Mm.
background, songs, fonts, sizes, everything in seconds. I'd be like, "Oh, you want blue sparkly? I got you." Like done. Now ask me that, and I'm like, I don't know. YouTube,
YouTube University is
right?
the answer. So it's all good. Just like y'all learned what a old Nextel phone was. Y'all just YouTube University real quick. It's all good. You feel me? But yeah, man. Um, Social media is a interesting place.
That's for sure.
How can we deal with that? Especially like with the kids who grew up with that. Like I'm fine with, like I promise you, I would be perfectly fine if if everything just crashed. Maybe not YouTube. Let me keep YouTube 'cause I like YouTube. But if everything else
Or one.
crashed, I don't think YouTube is social media to an extent. I think it's more like a
I think it is, but it
oh
isn't.
yeah. It predates all this stuff, so that's why I kind of just don't. It's an app to an extent. But yeah, if someone's dealing with this and they're kind of struggling with the imposter syndrome, losing confidence, and they just don't know how to balance the social media life with the real life. What can they do to kind of find their medium or find their balance of, okay, I can still be active on here, but not to where I'm just going crazy and losing my mind and losing myself in it.
Yeah. There's a few things. Limiting the amount of time you spend on social media. So our phones are cool because we can set timers for apps. We can set time limits for apps. We just don't, but we can. So you've
Hmm.
spent 2 hours on TikTok today, shut it off, right? Um, I think being intentional with the types of people we follow. So we get to control not everybody that shows up on our timelines anymore. They like kind of force feed us people, but we
Yeah.
can be more intentional with the type of content that we're engaging with to set up that algorithm for our success. So like on my Instagram, so like my personal Instagram, way too many. Um, I follow maybe 10 celebrities, maybe. And by celebrities, it's like Vanessa Bryant, like Zoe Saldana, and like Steph. Like it's random people that people are like,
Hmm.
what? Or like some random chef or whatever. And I put it under celebrities. But because I don't care about all the like glitz and glamour and the Hollywood drama and things like that. But once you start to follow a bunch of celebrities, you're going to get Kardashian posts every other day. I
Hmm.
don't want that. I don't care.
Hmm.
On my like sports psych page, I follow mostly sports related content, and that is it. And so, if you know something is triggering towards you, then don't engage with it, so it's not on your algorithm and you don't constantly see it. So if
Hmm.
you're constantly comparing yourself to someone or someone's making you feel inferior, don't follow them. Social media is not real life. And I know it's harder for young people today, especially if they know that person personally. It's like beef
Hmm.
if you unfollow someone. We are lucky enough to be old enough where it's like, I haven't followed, I'll unfollow my best friend for a week because I'm like, I'm tired of seeing pictures of your kid. Like, it doesn't matter because it's not real life. We also had a 3 hour phone conversation in that week, right? So
Hmm.
I think once people are able to recognize that this doesn't necessarily validate your relationships outside of social media. I think that helps. I know it's harder for the new generation, especially those kids who were like in school during COVID. That was their sense of connection. And so they heavily rely on even pseudo engagement and pseudo connection with people they have never met in their entire lives because
Hmm.
we need connection to survive as human beings. So I think for them, it's just being deliberate with the type of people that you engage with and understanding like if you don't want to follow this or talk to this person or read about this, that's okay. You don't have to. No one's making you do that.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of self regulation too, right? Like, I think everyone's been at that point where it's like, oh, I'm just going to take a study break. And then next thing you know, you're on a friend's, spouse's, cousin's, ex's, sister's page 20 posts deep and you're like, how did I even get here? How did we get here? So just being deliberate and intentional and maybe set some timers if you need to.
Yeah, I think it's funny because we'll go on this deep, deep wormhole,
Yes.
and then it's like it's almost like, well, I can't say that one because they don't get that reference. Well, they could, but it's a family friendly show. Um, I don't know. I can't think of another analogy, so I'm just not gonna say it. But but no, it's just like you get down this deep hole, and it's just like you snap out of this for days, and I'm like, how am I here?
Right.
And it's crazy because you had all intentions of going here. Then it's like you get a quick notification. All right, cool. Then you notice something else like, what is this? Something else is like, oh snap, and then go down that hole. And it's funny because like I think they came out at some point. I don't remember when it was, and they're like, yeah, like social media is made to kind of get you on that deep, spiral down and
Yeah.
hole of doing that. And it's like it's almost a drug because like they literally did research like this is dopamine fix and all this stuff, and it's like they intentionally make all these things to where you're basically addicted to it. Every single
Yep.
detail about it is made like that. So I think that doing social media fast and
Yes.
I wish we could do like a deep phone clean. I wish I could like live without my phone
Do it.
for weeks at a time.
Oh, weeks?
Yes.
Go weeks. And that's just because I don't have like a landline. If I had a landline, I could go weeks without my phone.
I think I want to. Like at some point, I'm gonna let y'all know in advance. When y'all see me disappear off the face of the earth, you know I made it. Like I just want
Yeah.
y'all guys to know. That's when I made it in my eyes. Like when y'all don't what's B phone number?
You don't know. Hey, my friends always know when that's when I've like heads down, locked in. Is because I'll like deactivate all my social media. And they'll just do the quick like, you good or you grinding? I'm grinding. Like I don't need a distraction. It's
Mm,
been deactivated. I'm focused. And then every time something big comes out and they're like, there it is. I need to clear my head for a little bit, get rid of that space. So yeah, detox from it. Some days it's like
mm,
3 days, sometimes it's like a month and I'm just locked in.
mm. Yeah. I'm gonna be like Kanye at some point. Go to Wyoming or something and just be like,
He was living his best life in Miami.
I wish he could go back because man, that was some good music. But anyway, I know people ain't fan of him. This ain't the podcast for that. Uh, I'll make another episode. We just talk about Kanye the whole time. It's all good.
Okay.
Oh man, it's my guy. But yeah, man, I think so one time I was forced to be without my phone
Mm-hmm.
because my phone was broke and I ordered one and it didn't come in for like a week maybe. And that was one of the best mental weeks of my life because I was like it was weird like the first couple of days because it was like, oh my phone at? And I'm like, don't have one. Keep it moving. So it's like in my mind I always play back what's my keys, what's my wallet, what's my phone.
Yep.
I always gotta have those three
You do like
like
the
90% of
one,
the
two,
time.
three check.
Yep. Okay. Boom, boom. Oh, what's that feeling? Oh, that ain't it. Hold on. Okay, cool. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Once I do them three, I'm good to go. Like I can leave basically anything else at home or my car or whatever. As long as I had those three, I'm cool. But it was weird. Like the first couple of days, I was like, okay, one, two. Oh, don't have one. All right,
Right.
cool. So, but it took me a minute when I finally got over it. I was like, man, I don't feel that nudge of like, if someone texted me, if someone called me, and it's funny because like we overreact and overthink like worst case scenario like bro nobody's been bothering me at all like
Nobody's
nothing
hitting you
happened.
up like that. Nobody.
And it's funny because one day I left my phone at home when I went to work and I came back I was like oh man I got all these texts and messages and phone calls and stuff. I had like one text maybe. It's probably my dad that day. I was like come on bro like he wouldn't even want nothing. He'd be sending stuff sometimes. I'm like all right
You know,
you don't need a phone like that.
the population can actually multitask
Mm.
outside of like automatic things like walking and
Yeah,
talking, which sometimes I
yeah.
still struggle.
Tiger did more of it,
Yeah.
and it was a little bit more obvious. So that's why I gave him that nod. So Serena was humble, and I think part of that was the social. Of your resume to say this is doable, and you have the mindset of how to make progress to go after the
Yeah.
goal. Because a lot of people have the same goal that you have, but they're like, "Oh man, I don't know how I can get there." Like, well, just start with first off, can you able of doing it? Like,
Yeah.
okay, you obviously know you are. So now, what's the steps to getting there? Step one is just doing this. Step two, okay, doing this, getting logistics, or it's
Yep.
mapping this out, getting the framework, getting the plan, whatever it is. And I think sometimes we overcomplicate how to get there, but like literally just figure out how to make progress.
Yep. Just make the steps in the right direction.
So like the whole concept is like remove the goal that you have, and now the new goal is how can I get to from A to B?
Yep.
Just make progress. So
Yep.
my progress is my goal. So that's what the brand is basically
That's
about.
cool.
Thank you, man. I put a lot of thought behind it. The design and everything. Like I told you, I'm a thinker. Overthinking comes in handy
It
sometimes. So
does.
it's my
Especially,
kryptonite and my superpower. So
right?
yeah. So that's my small pitch
Nice.
of people. I don't even know that was like a good idea, but it's an idea I have, and if it's good, I'll keep doing it. If it's
I think
not,
you should
I'll
ask
tweak
people
it,
what their
whatever.
goals are.
Okay.
Hold people to the fire.
Ooh,
Make them
I
think
like
about
that.
it.
So yeah, I had an idea. I forgot to do it like the past couple interviews I had. So you're the first one. Came here. It's all free, so why not help her out and help me out by helping yourself out? Because I'm gonna have more amazing people come too, but you're gonna miss out if you're not subscribed. You feel me? If you're on Spotify, Apple, Google, any other place you can get podcasts at, just follow along, subscribe there too. Leave me a review because that'll help that all out too. It helps other people. It helps the algorithm know that I put out a good podcast, but they don't know that if you're not listening and like telling other people to do it and leaving reviews. Like that's part of their thing. You feel me? So help me out by helping yourself to the review section, leaving like 5-star and only. Like my thing is broke. You can only leave 5 stars. So if you leave 4, I think it won't work. So just do the 5 star. Just trust me. Just do 5-star only. Anything else I'm supposed to say here? Oh, follow me on social media, BeBall Jones. Oh man, this is funny. Follow me on social media at BeBall Jones. It's like Twitter, Instagram. I'm on Threads. I do that a little bit too. TikTok. I have another YouTube page, BeBall Jones. It's trainer stuff. I'm a basketball trainer. I don't think I mentioned that. I'm bad at marketing, bro. I just be doing stuff. And I think that's it for me. You can follow this lovely guest here. It's Ashley at AB Mentality. This business. Don't follow the personal. Just do business because y'all don't know her like that.
Right. And if you find the personal, the link to the business is in the bio. So just click over.
You feel me? And then just cash up her some money and be like, yo, interview, conversation, talk you had on it was great.
Yeah.
And that's it, guys. I'm gonna stop before I keep rambling on here. And yeah, have fun. Thank you.